Welcome back to Riley Blake Designs YouTube channel. I'm Cindy Cloward, and today I'm going to show you how to create an entire quilt out of one quilt block design. It's the Churn Dash. We love the Churn Dash, and we have two patterns using the Churn Dash. I'm going to show you how to create these quilts that are a free download on the Riley Blake Designs website. One quilt in the warm tones featured behind me, and you can see it has the browns, the oranges, and the corals into the pinks. And then we also have a cool colorway option, which is featured right here with a little more of the cool tones. So whichever your preference is, choose your fabrics. I'm working with our batiks today and our hand dyes, and they're just lovely to work with. So let's get into how to create this this quilt using the Churn Dash. So this is a classic block, like I mentioned, and you'll notice it's easy to recognize this Churn Dash, but it may not be as easy to recognize the other block in this quilt, which is a reverse Churn Dash. So take a look at this. Here is our Churn Dash classic block in the quilt. It's 6.5 inch unfinished, and then we have the reverse Churn Dash next to it, followed by a classic Churn Dash on the other side. And what is so cool is it makes a pattern in a pattern, so it makes a really interesting quilt with the same block, just kind of colors reversed. So we are going to make 2 blocks at a time. You could make a lot more all together, chain piece, but we're just going to work on our regular Churn Dash and then our reverse Churn Dash. And so the first thing you need to do is grab your H and your B and your H and your D. And if you don't have a Seam So Easy guide, you're going to need to mark corner to corner on your white. But since I have a Seam So Easy guide, I'm just going to mark one. Let's put these right sides together. Again, our hand dyes are dyed through, so it doesn't matter so much, but it does matter on this white on white batik, so make sure it's going the right way. I'm going to chain piece these together, and this is not our stitch line, this is our guide, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of our line. So let's take it to the machine and sew. Now I'm using a Microtech needle because it's a sharper needle for batiks because the fabric is a little tighter weave, and I'm also dropping my stitch length to 2.0. All right, let's flip it around and go down the other side. All right, got these sewn. Let's just grab our snips, cut in between. And now we're just going to trim down. That sew line as our guide, or we're just going to trim down. If you don't have that line drawn, we just trim it down right in the middle, corner to corner. Okay, let's take these to our pressing station. We're going to open up, pressing to the dark side. Oh, sometimes I give it a little, just warming up my block so it's easier to open up. I press to the dark side. Let them cool underneath our clapper. All right, we've got these all pressed. Now let's trim them down using little cute cuts. Trim it ruler to 2.5 inches. I kind of pull it to one side. Cut those dog ears while we just trim around. Love this Sue Daily rotating mat. It's just like the perfect thing to trim them down. All right, those are all trimmed. I'm gonna clean off my workstation, put that over here, and we're gonna put those to the side. The next thing we need to do is strip piecing on our A and F. And again, the strips are longer for when you're doing all the blocks together. I trim these down for demonstration purposes. Now again, make sure the white on white, there's definitely a wrong sign and a right sign on these batiks, so make sure it's going the right way. And I do, when I strip piecing, I like to make a temporary heat adhesive instead of pinning. Get everything pressed, nice and pressed, before you take it to the machine and sew. Just line that up. I'm using a little steam today, so that's good. Okay, let's take it to the machine and sew our strips together. All right, we've got our strips sewn. Let's press to the dark side. Again, we just heat up our fabrics a little bit, open them up. Okay, we're going to use that 2.5 inch square up ruler to cut us some blocks, these little units, and we need 4 of them. For each churn dash, you need 4. And last one, open up there. There we go. So that's ready to go. And now we're ready to start assembling our churn dash blocks. So you have a G in the middle. Make sure it's facing the right way. And for the reversal, all the white goes into the center like that. And then we'll grab our half square triangles. And it goes on the corner, so you can just see that the colors are just flipped like that. That one's good to go. And you know, the pattern tells you to assemble in rows like this, but I find it easier for me if I'm essentially sewing them in rows, but as one big unit together. So I have that laid out like that. I'm going to do the same thing for this churn dash, just like that. The colors are flipped towards the center. You know, churn dashes are just so cute, and a lot of times people will make simple churn dash quilts and put something fun and fussy cut in the center of that to just add a little more interest. There's just so many things you can do to make a churn dash interesting. Okay, same thing for this. I'm going to flip it over, right sides together. And this first row, I don't feel like I even need to pin it. So I'm going to sew down this side and bring these over to together and sew down that other side. So let's just take it to the machine and sew. Okay, I'm going to clip the threads in between. Between each different colors, I'm going to clip them in between, but I'm not clipping them in between each of the same unit. Hopefully that makes sense. And I got to flip it this way. And we can lay that out like this. See how that looks? Now we're going to flip this over this way. And because I didn't break my threads here, I'm going to sew that together as a unit. I'm going to flip that over this way and pin on top. Just keep everything in place. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now I'm going to do the same here. That flips this way. Open up our little units here. Not clipping my threads in between, just like that. I'm flipping that over there, there, and there. Again, I'm going to sew from this direction, so I'm going to put my pin up top. Okay, let's sew. Okay, we'll clip our threads in between each of the blocks. Open that up. It's looking really great. Open that up. Now we just need to have 2 seams on each of these. So I am going to flip, since I'm going to eventually have to nest my seams, I'm going to flip these in going this direction. So I'm nesting my seams, my little bird pins. I'm flipping this outside one direction towards the center. So this outside of the churn dash, my seams are going to go in. And this side, so that center block, the seam's going to go out. So I'm flipping my seams in that direction. And it'll matter when you later. So just remember that I am flipping the seams going this direction because I want to nest my seams with this other churn dash block later. So that's why it's important to flip your seams a certain direction at this point. Okay, so now I'm going to flip these seams out so they'll nest with that block later. And then I'm going to flip that center block towards the center. So for all of your reverse churn dashes, you want to press them that way, or flip the seams that way. We'll press later. Okay, here we go. It's going out. Just lock those seams into place. There we go. Okay, let's go sew our last 2 seams. All right, let's clip the threads in between these two blocks. I'm going to put my design boards to the side and let's go press. Now we are going to press all the seams going into the center like this on this particular block, on the reverse. So sometimes I press from the back side initially, and then I flip it over. Give it a good press on this side. Let it cool underneath the clapper. And then all my seams are going to go out on this particular churn dash. Our regular churn dash, we're going to call that. And then I flip it over and give it a good press on top. There we go, let it cool kind of underneath the clapper. Okay, we have our 2 churn dash blocks completed, and you're gonna need to make 36 of the reverse churn dash and 49 of the regular classic churn dash blocks. And now it's time to talk about, once you've made all your blocks, how to assemble this quilt. Now, if you notice the large quilt behind me, the blocks are set on point. And you can see how beautiful that looks. And I've just shifted this quilt on the cool colorway for you to show how do we sew those so they are set on point. And we sew them in rows, just like this. So I'm going to take you through 2 rows, and then you'll know how to assemble the rest of the quilt. So let's take this block. So our corners, we have a regular churn dash, and you need some more fabric, some of this more white on white fabric. So the very corner squares, you only need four of those units, 4 of those triangles. So you have a square, all the instructions of cutting instructions are in the pattern. So those are ready for the 4 corners. But for the other setting triangles, we need 24 of those. I'm just gonna cut a couple on camera. So again, all the instructions cutting instructions are in the pattern, but it tells you with this large square to cut corner to corner on one side. I'm going to rotate it around and then corner to corner on the other side. So you'll be making 4 at a time. Okay. So we'll take these and put them to the side. I'll move that to the side. And it might be a good time to just check and make sure these are 6.5 inches. And what you really want to see is your points on your churn dash are inside this blue line, and that looks really good. Take a look at that. And that looks good here. It looks like I just want to trim slightly to the side. I have a little extra of this green fabric. And if you're making 49 of it and you have a lot of that extra, it can add up. So just check those churn dash blocks before you get too far along. All right, so to make this row, you're gonna need 2 of these triangle pieces. And make sure, I'm gonna need my glasses again. And make sure you're putting them right sides together. And you're gonna line up this bottom here. So this is the corner, and we're doing that corner later. So we're gonna flip that over, right sides together, grab your pins, and again, we want this right angle with the edge of this, the corner is gonna be hanging over on both sides. So I'll just pin up top, pin down here, and we're not sewing this right now. So let's take this to the machine and sew that. Okay, let's bring it back here. You can finger press it open. We're just making sure we didn't cut off our points. I'll flip this other side here. There we go. Right, let's bring it back. We can give it a little press. Now, you only need to make 4 of these corner units because you only have 4 corners. And so let me just quickly show you how to create that. You're going to fold it in half like this. Take one of your little corner units. Fold it in half. There we go, like that. We line that up with the center there, pin it. Pin our 2 sides. So you'll have equal parts on each side, like that. And be careful not to stretch this because it is on the bias. Be very careful not to stretch your fabric when you're sewing. Okay. Okay, take it back here. Look at our points. That's looking great. So press that open. There we go. Use your clapper a little bit. Okay, and look at that beautiful corner unit. Now you can trim off those dog ears. Just give it a little trim. That's ready to go. And then, but most of the quilt is creating the rows, these rows. And again, they get progressively longer as you are working from the corner to the middle of the quilt. I'm just gonna show you, well, we'll take these 2 units here. Okay, so now that we have, we're moving to the next row, you're always going to have a reverse turn dash in between 2 regular turn dash. And this is where it's going to be important where you pressed your seams. So let's go to this side. We pressed our seams in, and then we pressed our seams out. And we are able to nest our seams. And it's kind of easy to remember because we're always pressing to the dark side on that reversed. Press it out. And then we just press any seams. Those seams are going in, the other ones are going out. So that's, let's see. I just flipped that, didn't I? There we go. So we got that. Now we're going to press these. Those are going in. These are going out. Now if you want to save a step, we're going to move these corners to the side. In pinning, you can put on your 2 outside triangles. So again, if you want to remind yourself where everything goes. Those are going to go that direction. Line that up there. So you're going to have a one continuous pattern going that direction. 3, here we go. And I need to get it to go that way. Is that right? That is right. Okay. Check and recheck before you sew, right? I'll just pin that on the side. Again, lining up that right angle. Okay, let's go sew. Okay, we've finished our unit, our long row. Let's give it a good press. And if you press as you go along, makes it a lot easier. I'm just going to flip my seams one direction, and then as I do my rows, I can flip these one direction, the next row I'll flip them the other direction. So it'll be really easy to nest that way. Okay, bring it back to your corner unit, and then you go right sides together, and you can nest your seams and sew that together and just progressively grow your quilt till you're all finished. Well, what do you think? Was that an easy quilt to work on today? We hope you enjoy learning or relearning how to create a churn dash with reverse and a regular churn dash to create a really beautiful quilt. I really love sewing with our batiks as well. So leave us a comment, let us know what you are sewing with these days, and we will see you next time on our Riley Blake Designs YouTube channel.